Awesome. Are there other people that need to present tonight or introduce themselves, or we're into it right now?
You're the main presenter tonight. So
Awesome.
Yeah, and Lorraine just joined
Lorraine,
us. I don't know if she would like to introduce herself.
oh yes, please, Lorraine. We just finished introducing ourselves, and I didn't see that you had joined us. So, Lorraine.
I'm on my phone, and you know how you have to figure out the buttons a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, so my name is Lorraine Payne Wheeler, and we have a neighborhood association that includes Blue Hill Avenue, but across from your building. And so therefore, because some abutters will be impacted by your project, I just wanted to make sure that we heard the presentation and we're able to ask questions. So thank you.
Yeah, and we
Great,
will
thank you.
be recording the presentation, so then it will be available for residents to take a look and like see what they're proposing.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Lorraine. I know Mike Prakash was here a minute ago. Bruce just joined in. Bruce, you want to just introduce yourself quickly before we get started? Well, he may be struggling also with his equipment, but so let's get started. And oh, here you are. Okay, Bruce.
Yeah, just wanted to say hi. I'm just tuning in tonight. I'm really enjoyed the annual meeting at the Land Trust last week, and want to congratulate everybody at DSNI for putting that amazing event on, and encourage everybody to come see the Holding Ground movie on the 29th, which I'm sure Renee will tell you more about, and pass the word on to people. It's the book's amazing, and so is the movie, and it really gives you some idea of how all this stuff came about, and it's worth seeing. So that's about it.
Thank you, Bruce. Yeah, it was good seeing you. And yes, we're gonna make a plug for the movie night. So, all right, back to you, Kyle. So you're on. You've got the screen and
Sharing capabilities.
yes.
Beautiful. And then also too, may I just allow the owner, Jeet, just to introduce himself? Would that be okay?
I think he did, but if he wants to do it again.
Oh, no, he did. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll quickly say hi to everybody. Hi.
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jeet.
So just again, briefly, Kyle Smith, a real estate attorney, and help guide people through the zoning relief process for the city, which is complex and time consuming. It's getting a little bit more streamlined, and the city is rolling and implementing some new overlaying zoning changes. The objective is to hopefully simplify the process. If you can see my screen, correct? Okay. We very nicely, we have frontage on 2 streets, but we are technically 84, 86 Blue Hill Avenue. This is the structure here. There is, a brick outcropping with kind of what I would believe to be some rear decking that was then internally absorbed to try to make it some, more year-round type structure. And we can actually go back here and see what the quality of that looks like. But, from a structural standpoint, very kind of dilapidated. And I imagine this was probably, a deck that they try to make for like a 3/4 year type included structure. But, this brick has good substance. It doesn't run the entire depth of the parcel here, as you can see, or the width. There's a small walkway area here, which we'll see on a site plan that I pull up, but I just wanted to give you some perspective of the building. But some nice bricking. The intent is to try to maintain a lot of this exterior element. But to, fix this rear structure and kind of square off our building to give some more internalized square footage. You can see that the brick structure does match a lot of what you see in the immediate vicinity of the property. So we want to try to maintain that brick look. We have a kind of row house type structure here with at least 4 or 5 abutting parcels, abutting buildings. And we immediately, here is our structure to our right. There's a firewall partition, but our structures are abutting, as is consistent with all of our buildings that you see here. Okay. Current legal use of the first floor is for a church. If we, unfortunately, me also being religious, my late grandfather was a Presbyterian minister of 60 plus years, so I grew up in a church. But we have largely because of COVID and other reasons, we have a dwindling church base in the United States. So, there are a lot of churches that are, either in disrepair or don't have enough active use. But the intent is to convert this use, renovate the internal structure, expand over the existing footprint that you see here, this outcropping to square off the building, and to convert this into entirely residential use for proposed 6 units. So basically 2 per floor, effectively front and back units. But given the footprint, we have, a good amount of square footage per unit, approximately 1,000 square feet. And we'll see those proposed layouts for proposed, 2-bed units, front and back, basically stacked levels so that the footprint of the first level matches the footprint of the second and then the third, with the exception of just the, change for the staircase. So this is some context for the neighborhood. The owner's on the call as well. Martin, who introduced himself earlier, all being here on behalf of the owner and the project. Martin, as he mentioned, has a lot of good contacts and ties into the community. He's done some door knocking and has spoken with some local people, including some of our abutters. And given the current physical look of the parcel, there is a lot of hope of something being done to beautify the parcel and get some better use out of the parcel than is currently being used. So thus far, and Martin can speak to this afterwards, after we get through the proposal, the project, but there's only been positive feedback about the intended converted use and the beautification of the building, giving it some, TLC. So that was just for some context of what you see around it and our immediate building and its immediate abutting parcels. So getting into the actual project itself, let me put this down. Okay. Here is our site plan. Okay. Again, we front on Blue Hill Avenue and Stafford Street. We have a pre-existing structure. You can see the footprint. Again, we saw the rear of the structure, the little gateway. So there is a small walkway to access the rear here. And again, we have a firewall partition with the structure to our immediate right. Okay. Our lot size, if you can see, is just in excess of 2,000 square feet. And effectively, our building is, very close to the relevant existing property lines. Okay. So that is our footprint. And then these are the intended plans. And just in full disclosure, there's not always a long-term workable relationship for, owners and GCs and or architects. The owner has, sought and hired a new architect to hopefully get him over the goal line here and communicate with the city. So the plans generated here were, used and are being used for kind of zoning perspective, but the new architect was needed for and hopefully building permit plans. And that architect does want to kind of retool some of the interior layouts here. So we won't be further changing the intended building envelope addition, and we won't be otherwise increasing the livable interior square footage and FAR calculations for further more egregious violations. But the hope is to finalize these plans, get the new architect fully on board to guide us through the balance of the project, and retool some of the interior, maybe layout a little bit. So the interiors may be changing slightly from current proposal to the end goal line, but the building envelope change won't be, and the intended use won't be either. Okay. So here again is what we have for the exterior face. This is just mock-ups. This is our current kind of structure here as well. You can see the enclosed rear, I believe, to be deck addition. The hope is to then square this off, just basically building over the existing envelope. Okay, the existing rear single-story addition. This is existing plans, again, for basement, and first floor, which is the existing church. Second floor apartment, third floor apartment. So we have currently church use, residential on second floor, residential on third floor. Once the building is squared off, then we have a proposed expanded footprint. Again, just basically utilizing the extension of the building off of the first floor to the base, building vertically above it, to square off the building to add internal livable square footage. Proposal is on the first floor to have a separate existing egress door off the left face of the building off of Stafford Street, while also having the main entrance to the second and third floor levels being off the front right of the building here, with additional means of entrance here and here. So main entrance for the building would be off of the right part, off the face, off of Blue Hill Avenue. Stairs up to then second and third floors. Walkway to service unit number 1, unit number 2 on the first floor. So the proposal would be, if you can see here, 2 beds, kitchen and living area, bath. So the proposal is to basically have this footprint mirrored for first floor, second, and third, for effectively 2 bed, 2 bed, 1 bath units with built-in washer dryers. So relatively unassuming, relatively simple. Again, beds, main living area, washer dryer, bathroom servicing the rear. So here's proposed footprint for first floor. Okay, and then for the layers or the elevations above it. Okay, stairs up, rear unit, front unit, 2 bed, 1 bath, rear unit, 2 bed, master bath for the rear units on the second and third floor, and then a communal bathroom here. So second and third floor units will be a 2 bed, 2 bath. Front units will be 2 bed, 1 bath. Okay. So those are the proposed interior plans, again, with the new architect that we had to engage to get us over the goal line. They do want to, kind of, architects don't like reusing what other prior architects have already done. So they want to recreate and retool things a little bit on the inside, but the proposed aggregate floor area ratio would be the same. Livable square footages would be the same. Violations wouldn't change. Getting to our refusal letter. Okay, we are in the Roxbury neighborhood subdistrict of the Boston zoning code. We're in a multifamily residential subdistrict. Current use is dwelling plus commercial, intending to be converted to, again, a expanded depth building over the first floor existing footprint, building vertically. Our corresponding violations are all under Article 50, the Roxbury subdistrict of the zoning code. We have a lot of pre-existing conditions, right? Our building currently violates front yard, rear yard, insufficient lot width. So from a building perspective, we're only looking to expand the building envelope to the rear over the existing footprint, and kind of square off the building to the rear as well. So we have an insufficient lot size. There's a certain amount of required additional. So the zoning code for most subdistricts has a certain amount of square footage for an X number of units. For every unit, in addition to that, you need a larger sized lot. So that's why they say an insufficient additional lot area per unit. Insufficient lot width, even though that's a pre-existing condition. We are increasing the aggregate livable area of the building and also converting from commercial to residential. So we have an excessive floor area ratio, which is livable square footage over lot size. Insufficient open space per unit. Per unit dictates how much open space you're supposed to have, which could be a function of decking, roof decks, etc. We're not proposing any roof decks currently, but there's an insufficient amount of open space per unit. And then again, our rear yard setback is a current violation, pre-existing non-conforming, and the same thing too with all of this front yard setback, which is also a pre-existing non-conformity. Even if there was 0 violations, this is in a overlay district, which means that effectively for design elements, you have to come through this process anyway. But we are in a overlay district. There are different sub-districts for different pockets of the greater Boston area based upon usually certain kind of aesthetic continuity of buildings. If this is successful, every zoning variance is always subject to the BPDA, the planning department reviewing those exterior envelope changes. So this would be anticipated to be subject to already BPDA design review. And in that process, they will usually look at overlays for continuity of materials, aesthetics, etc. And then also for off-street parking, there is currently not any parking. There's not proposed to be any parking. And as you saw from our existing footprint, there is not really the ability to accommodate any parking on a lot this small with a pre-existing structure that we're looking to basically square off and go vertically over for the rear of the parcel. So that is the current context, the current real-time look and feel of the building in relation to neighboring structures. And then the proposed plans existing with the proposed plans and our subject refusal letter. So with all that being said, I'm happy to turn it over to the owner to offer any feedback or additional comments, and also hopefully to Martin as well, if Martin can comment on the scope of our discussion with the community, the canvassing, the knocking on doors, the feedback that we've received, all of which again is positive. People looking for a maybe increased or better use of the current structure and some, kind of much needed TLC.
Hello?
Jeet or Martin?
This is Martin.
Yep, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. So, I canvassed the building and I spoke to a number of people, including, I believe, probably someone that is a member of your group, and she lives at 72 Blue Hill Ave, last townhouse. I spoke to the police officer that owns number 91 and the 2 owners of 89 and a number of renters in the area. And this is actually the very first time I've canvassed an area, and everyone is excited to see something done with this property. I think it has been an attractive nuisance in the area, and I think people are excited to have this part of the neighborhood revitalized. And if any of you guys live in the immediate area, you probably bumped into me. Are there any questions as to what feedback, how I canvassed, any of that?
Not specifically to what you did, Martin. I'm curious about whether there's been an abutter meeting, an actual abutter meeting, and what kind of feedback came from that.
Yep. So there wasn't a butter meeting. I was looped in after that a butter meeting was held, but it was overseen by the Office of Neighborhood Services. There is a recording of that meeting. It was properly noticed. I think that there was very, very little attendance. So there wasn't a whole lot of response to the flyering and canvassing of the community for overall feedback. So it was a lightly attended meeting and a butter meeting that has already occurred.
Got it. Thank you. So I have a couple of other questions. One, maybe Jeet or you, Kyle. I'm curious, like when did Mr. Jeet or Mr. Shahani purchase the property? Is that something recently? Because I know that again, I thought it was a Black-owned property with the church.
Yeah, hi. Yeah. Hey, see me?
Yes.
Yep.
So, yeah, I bought the property recently. It was owned by the church, and I believe the minister passed away at some point. Not sure how long ago.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Are there currently, the units currently occupied?
No, they aren't occupied now.
Okay. And then my other question was, because when I looked at the plans, I was trying to figure out, so what's the plan for the basement? Because the units are gonna be on the first street level, second floor, and third floor, or is the basement one of the floors with the residential units?
It's basically the first floor, second floor, and third floor. There is space in the basement currently, which we will just use as storage. So there are no
Okay.
to add any units there.
Okay,
And,
got it.
and mechanical systems.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
So the scope of renovation will require bringing up to building code. So it's going to require a sprinkler plan, et cetera. So, you know, the renovation, the basement will be utilized for mechanicals, and there'll be required, you know, building code compliance given the scope of renovation.
Mhm.
Well, this is Lorraine. Again, I'm on my phone. Just forgive me because I forget which numbers to put
Mhm.
of a question. And when you were first showing the envelope of the building, and you showed us in the rear that there is a so like the current situation where you show us the corner there, and you show us in the rear that there is a narrow walkway that goes to the rear of the building. Can you show that? I think it might be the first or the second slide. Yeah, so you pointed that out. I'm just trying to figure out what you have there. Is that it's sort of like that little square in the back and where it says oil tank? How exactly is that now? And how will that change when you redo the building?
So currently, this is the footprint of that kind of first story addition that you saw off the rear.
Yes,
This being a walkway, this being open. The intent is just to square off the building. Okay, removing and modifying the oil tank, but maintaining the walkway here. So the intent is to square this structure off and then basically build above it to the same height and the same kind of aesthetics of the current structure.
okay, so now current zoning requires that you have a trash available, a trash bin available to every unit. So you would have to have 6 of those and probably recycle too. So I'm just wondering where all of that will go.
But there, and G, you can speak to this too, but there would be the ability to, if you can see here, this is the current configuration. There is ability to, you know, maintain these to the rear of the structure.
Right. Now, so let me, and while you're on that slide, let's go back to the front for just a second. Because you don't really have the renderings of what you plan the building to, because you had talked about having a new architect. So I wanted to go back to the front of the building for a minute
Okay.
and just say that it's a
Just
little
look at
bit
you.
unattractive, right? Can I just say that? It's a little bit unattractive. And so I'm just wondering what plans you have, for that entrance to the, just what plans you have for that.
I mean, these are the current renderings, but the intent is to make the face here, this facade, mirror closer to what you see above it.
Yes.
Okay, so the hope is to remove a lot of this, not to take offense or to, this is religious-based symbol, but to just have this facade in this portion of the home kind of mirror what you're seeing here.
Right.
Bringing down windows, still having this be the main entrance, stairwell up, and then walkway here. But this will look much more similar to what is above it.
I see. And does the owner own other properties in Roxbury that we could consider as the way that you would operate this building as well?
Jeet, can you speak to that?
I don't own, let me take out my video too, hold on. Okay, so I don't currently own property in Roxbury per se, but I own other properties in other parts of other towns.
Other towns, no Dorchester, no,
Rosendale, I've owned in West Roxbury before, Rosendale before. So
I see. All right. Thank you.
So I actually have a comment and a question. The question being, are these going to be for sale? Or are these going to be rentals?
I haven't decided either way. I think just that the first step was trying to add the units, and then
Got it, okay.
depending on what the market's doing, it could be either for sale or rental. It's a high price tag, so I would like to keep both options open.
Yeah. So my comment, you know, I mean, I've walked and biked and at times buzzed past this, and I used to always wonder whether that church had any congregants because it just I never saw any. But more importantly, again, because it's been such a long-standing eyesore, I would hope that the improvements to this property would also include some very nice landscaping in the periphery. It's kind of there's a good setback, and of course your neighbors have just shrubs. I often will see people hanging out in the front steps. So, I'm curious as to, again, what the plans are for the front entrance and the type of door and security to the entrance to that space. Yeah, certainly, I mean, the periphery has enough space for it to sort of also demonstrate that a better aesthetics, not just concrete. So I know your drawings are going to be redone, and hopefully that will show up in the new drawings.
Yeah, if we have some setbacks in the front, then we can definitely consider softening the concrete on the sidewalk there. But I'm not sure where how it changes at this moment. But yes,
Yeah, I think it looks like you have a good 2-3 feet in the
There's
front. Yeah,
maybe a couple feet worth of space. It's not a ton.
it's
but
not, and it's not perfectly squared, or
Yeah.
it's wider at the corner, and then on the side where I know you're planning to have the where you were suggesting having the entrances to the first floor unit. Certainly there's also that setback that could be improved.
So I think your question or your point is trying to, with the small little bit of areas that we have, try to maybe have something other than just straight macadam or concrete, and maybe some type of like just bushes or plantings, and just try to beautify the front a little bit and along the side.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the corner space, and I mean, folks, especially if you're thinking that you may sell them, I mean, I would want to see something nicer, but and then the fact that you have no off-street parking, I think that there's value. You don't have any yard space, and there's value for people being able to see greenery, color. We know that that's has a big impact on mental health, just how you feel about where you live. And so
not a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we can't do huge trees obviously because
no, absolutely, yeah, not that, yeah,
some landscaping, not a problem,
yeah.
or some softscaping like
Mhm.
some not bricks but like pavers or something, in the
Mhm.
front way instead of concrete.
Yeah.
So I have another question, Marcus.
Go ahead.
So it seems like most of the units are 2-bedroom, right? That correct?
Front
Yeah.
side is 2-bed 1. There's a little more space, in the rear units are a little bit larger. Those are proposed to be 2-bed, 2-bath. Let me just pull
Do
up.
you know the square footage for the bathroom?
So bathrooms on
The
second.
bedroom.
Oh, bedroom. Okay, so dimensionally, they're right here for you.
Okay.
10 by 12.
So about 130 square feet.
No, but per bedroom. I don't think it's 100.
Per
Yeah, but,
bedroom?
12 feet times 11 feet is about
Yeah.
132 feet.
Yeah.
Square
Okay.
feet.
Oh, this is so the 12 and 2 feet and the 11 and 2, they're two different. I'm trying
It's
to
12 and
understand.
12 feet 2 inches.
Oh,
by
this is the
11.
horizontal distance. So these are the length by width. So the proposed rough area of the living room is approximately 20 feet 8 inches by 29 feet 8 inches.
Oh,
And in
okay.
the front,
Okay,
they were a
yeah,
little
yeah.
bit bigger, right? Yeah,
So by
slightly bigger in the front.
So the proposed rough square footages of the front units are approximately about 975 square feet. And the rear units being slightly larger, closer to about, 1,100.
Okay. Now I understand the numbers. I was like, I see 12 and 2. That's so small. But
Oh.
now I understand that it's just one.
So the footprint of the
unit.
entire building is about 2,000 square feet, give or take. So we have about 900 square feet front. We have about 1,100 square foot rear, roughly.
Okay.
Maybe when you, here's my thing. Maybe when you come back next time, you could just have a chart that, says one, apartment 1, apartment 2, apartment 3, and the amount of square footage for each unit.
Understood. Yep. I mean, they're usually, you can see unit size here, but usually plans might have a little bit more detail. So we are working on
Sure.
getting that detail embedded into these plans.
Sure. And I'd also say that it can be challenging, depending on the pricing, to sell a condominium without parking. And that's a corner that is very, very dense. So, again, when you come back, if you could let us know, because I mean, to me, these seem to be more apartments. And because people will rent an apartment, and particularly younger people, they, ride scooters and they would rent an apartment without parking. But when you get into condos and people are there a little bit longer, it can be a struggle. So.
Well, I think that's also the challenge with this, that it's again, when you think about the types of spaces that families may need, these may not be it, right? And I know that we're seeing more and more in our neighborhood, students renting up apartments where the living room is also converted into or used as a bedroom, right? And that's how they sort of address the affordability. But yeah, I think that I think Lorraine makes some good points, and I actually wanted to ask for what you are considering in terms of sort of climate resilience measures, energy efficiency measures that you're building into this.
Have you taken that level of discussion with a GC as far as,
Yeah.
I mean, we're not changing the building envelope, Marcus, so we're still dealing with brick and existing structure. So I guess, do you have any other feedback, GCs or not?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you that the insulation that we add would be much better than what's currently there, or lack of. There's a R49 value that we have to, or whatever the requirement is, for the permit would need to be addressed, which is a much better situation than what would be in an older home. And same thing with like energy efficient windows, front door and also appliances would be energy efficient,
Mhm.
Energy Star efficient, you know. And same thing with the mechanicals. We would do new mechanicals and stuff, sprinkler system, new plumbing and new electrical.
Marcus,
Yeah,
was there
thank
a
you.
specific element or thing that you were looking for?
Well, one of the areas where DSNI is sort of working very diligently on is again addressing some of the climate and issues that are impacting Blue Hill Ave. It's not only that it's a heat island because of minimal trees, but it's also a serious noise pollution sort of space, right? For given the traffic that goes by. And so again, I think we're looking for developers to be open to thinking about, again, how do they incorporate climate resiliency type of measures into what they're thinking about, even to the point of being able to have the ability for folks to secure their bikes, right? If they're sort of not driving or not using public transportation. I think that
Yep.
more and more people are incorporating, bike racks and so on. So just wanted to put it out there for you guys to consider.
Yeah, we can try putting in a bike rack in the basement in this.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if other folks have any other thoughts. This is again been useful to see this and hear your ideas. Okay, I don't think anybody has any additional questions, so appreciate you presenting and sharing your plans, Jeet, Kyle, and Martin as well for your work. So Renee, do you know what the next steps would be?
Yeah, I think is anything that the developer is looking from DSNI and from this committee in particular?
Well, I think fundamentally, and I guess I don't know what your protocols are. If you call for a vote on the spot, if you deliberate and then vote outside of or not in front of members of the community. But I think hopefully we have to finalize updated plans. We certainly will get you copies of whatever the changed interior might look like. Again, we don't anticipate any updated or new or worse violations for zoning. So the hope is to confirm with ONS and work to try to proceed before the ZBA, which is still going to be probably a month, 2 months out easily. And then hopefully, if you are able to virtually attend the ZBA meeting to offer feedback, that'd be great. If worst case scenario, we were able to get a formal your formal vote of either support or not opposition. That would be tremendously helpful and appreciated, just so that they know that we have communicated with you, presented before you, tried to field questions, address concerns. So I think fundamentally your written vote of non-opposition or support would be very helpful.
Okay, we will deliberate after you guys leave the room, and I will communicate with Asha. I think you have been part of those emails, Kyle.
Yes.
And Lorraine too. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
I think one final comment I have is again affordability is a major concern, and I know that you still sort of undecided as to whether they're for sale or rentals, but certainly again that's a major challenge in our community, and so it would be useful to get a sense of where you think those prices would land, for your project. So.
To be frank with you, I haven't evaluated that yet, because it's challenging, challenging right now. Yeah, so I don't know. I cannot answer that question right now.
Yeah, I understand.
Sorry.
I just
Yeah.
was sharing that, it's important. And so, even as we sort of take this back to the rest of the organization, I think that's the question that comes up a lot. Yeah. So thank you.
I mean, I did consider, maybe doing more apartments, but I wanted to keep the footprint to 6 units. I could have gone up another floor or two,
Mhm.
which I decided against.
Yeah. That probably would have been a little costly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was intended to have that much weight on that structure. So all right. So okay. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate again the time that you spent both meeting with abutters and also with us.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a good night, folks.
Good night.
Have a good night. Appreciate your feedback.
Mhm.
Thank you for your time tonight.